When you say dinosaur, most people immediately think of a giant predator with sharp teeth, or a massive herbivore with a long neck slowly moving through a prehistoric forest. But let's try to stop for a moment. What happened to them at night? How did the creatures that dominated the planet for tens of millions of years sleep? Did they lie like today's mammals, or did they stand like birds? And how could they rest when there were so many predators roaming around? Scientists have long tried to answer these questions, and with each new discovery, a fascinating mosaic of an ancient world is put together, in which sleep had a completely different meaning than it does today. This journey takes us deep into the mysterious world of a sleeping dinosaur, where every closing of eyes could mean life or death, and where the body itself hides traces of an ancient ritual of peace. Get ready for a quest full of surprises, because the answer to how dinosaurs slept is much more wondrous than it might seem at first glance. A truly unique insight into the privacy of dinosaurs has been brought by some fossil finds that capture these creatures directly in their sleeping position. In the year 2004, a tiny theropod of the genus Meilong was discovered in Mongolia, whose fossilized body was curled up into a ball with its head tucked under its forelimb, just like birds sleep today. This finding was revolutionary because it showed for the first time that at least some dinosaurs apparently slept in a protective position, which allowed them to conserve body heat while protecting vital parts of their bodies. From similar fossils, it can be concluded that sleep was not only a biological necessity for dinosaurs, but also a behavioral manifestation of evolutionary significance. Fossilized bodies, curled up in similar positions, suggest that some species may have had sleep similar to that of today's birds, and that some dinosaurs may even have had ancestors of today's REM sleep. Although there are few sleep-related fossils, each one presents a fascinating window into a completely different world. There was no single way for dinosaurs to sleep. While smaller species could sleep peacefully curled up in burrows or under vegetation, giant sauropods probably wouldn't be able to lie down as easily due to their size. It is possible that they slept standing up or lay down on the ground only for short intervals. For some herbivorous, heavy-bodied dinosaurs, lying down and then getting up could be very slow and risky, especially if there were predators nearby. Predators like Tyrannosaurus rex probably slept lying down, much like today's crocodiles, perhaps in protected areas of forest or rocks. Sleep could be broken up into shorter cycles that minimize the risk of attack. Smaller theropods, close relatives of today's birds, could sleep in a ball or on tree branches if they were small and handy enough. Sleep is a vulnerable phase for any living organism, and this was doubly true for dinosaurs. A safe place to rest was crucial for survival, and evolution equipped many species with instincts and behaviors that helped them reduce their risk of predation. Many herbivores probably slept in tightly packed groups, where at least some individuals always stayed awake and guarded the surroundings. Such collective protection could have significantly increased the chances of survival. It was different with predators. They were often loners, so they had to look for safe hiding places where they were not surprised by another predator or opponent while sleeping. Burrows, caves, dense forests, or rock formations could provide natural protection. It is possible that some of the more intelligent species have developed more complex ways of guarding and defending themselves during a night's rest. Not all dinosaur species clung exclusively to the ground. Some smaller, feathered theropods probably spent part of their lives in branches, and according to many scientists, could also sleep in trees. Similar to today's birds, this strategy would offer much greater safety from predators and at the same time allow easy observation of the surroundings from above. In some species, such as Anchiornis or Microraptor, there is evidence of the presence of sticky toes, which supports the theory that they may have caught on the branches. If they slept similarly to today's owls or parrots, they could hook their legs around a branch and rest undisturbed in this position, while remaining stable even without conscious movement. Like today's animals, dinosaurs were probably subject to circadian rhythms, a natural biological cycle of wakefulness and sleep. From some studies of skulls and orbits, it has been inferred that some species were active during the day, others at night. These so-called nocturnal dinosaurs had larger eyeballs and an anatomy adapted to vision in low light, our chance of survival. In such cases, individuals could sleep alternately to ensure constant vigilance against danger. Conversely, in solitary species, especially among large predators, sleep was likely to be more secretive and isolated. These dinosaurs had to find a safe place on their own, where they could rest peacefully without the threat of being attacked by another predator or rival. Solitary sleep could be deeper, but also shorter and more interrupted. Although dinosaur brains are not preserved in fossils, scientists can guess the shape of the cranial cavity from its structure and possible functions. Some species have been shown to have brains developed enough to handle complex behaviors, including regulated sleep. It is even speculated that feathered species may have experienced both light and deep phases of sleep, similar to those we know from birds or mammals. Of particular interest is the possibility of a so-called half-sleep, a state in which one half of the brain rests while the other remains active and observes its surroundings. This type of sleep is now found in some birds and marine mammals, and may have been part of the lives of some dinosaurs, especially those who lived in risky environments. In areas with significant seasonal changes, dinosaurs could face periods when food was scarce and temperatures were low. Scientists have long wondered whether some species may have fallen into a state similar to today's hibernation. Some fossils show stunted growth at certain times, which would correspond to a seasonal decline in metabolism and lower activity. Prolonged sleep or slowing down activity during the colder months would be especially beneficial for smaller herbivores who could save energy. If dinosaurs really did hibernate, this would be another parallel with today's animals and proof that their lives were much more complex than we thought until recently. Undoubtedly, dinosaurs' sleep was heavily influenced by the environment in which they lived. Dinosaurs inhabited a variety of ecosystems, from humid tropical jungles to arid deserts to cold polar regions. Each environment required different adaptation strategies, not only for survival, but also for the rest itself. In tropical areas, dinosaurs could sleep in dense vegetation where they had plenty of shade and moisture, which helped them maintain their body temperature. In dry and hot areas, peace during the day was probably necessary. Some species may have slept during the hottest days and only been active in the morning and evening, a strategy that we know from today's mammals and reptiles. In colder regions, sleep could be short, often interrupted, and take place in sheltered shelters where heat was retained. The rhythm of sleep was therefore quite naturally adapted to climatic and terrain conditions. Sleep wasn't just a moment of peace. It was also a strategic moment for predators to attack. Many carnivorous dinosaurs probably took advantage of the moment when their prey was resting to intervene without much effort. This dynamic may have influenced the development of sleep behavior in herbivores, who had to learn to sleep carefully, wake up quickly, and be constantly alert. This pressure to survive may have led to the emergence of various warning systems within the herd. Some species may have used touch, sounds, or other signals to wake others up in case of danger. The predator, on the other hand, had to act very quietly, stealthily, and precisely, or else it could lose its advantage. This constant struggle between sleep and alertness influenced the overall pace of life in the Mesozoic. Since dinosaurs and birds are closely linked, it is possible that many of the sleep patterns of modern birds originated in the age of the dinosaurs. Birds today usually sleep standing up on one leg, often with their heads hidden under the wing, a behavior very similar to the fossil find of Mei Long. This shows that sleep behavior has deep evolutionary roots dating back to the Mesozoic era. In some species, parallels can even be found in brain biology, structures, or sleep rhythms that resemble today's birds. If other findings showing similar sleeping positions and behaviors in other dinosaurs are confirmed, it will be further evidence that birds are not just distant relatives of dinosaurs. They are their direct descendants, even in sleep habits. Although sleep marks are extremely rare, in some cases so-called resting prints have been discovered, shallow depressions in the sediment where the dinosaur probably sat or lay. These imprints often contain clearly legible contours of the body, limbs, and sometimes even the tail groove. Such finds prove that dinosaurs may have chosen specific resting places and may have returned to them regularly. These formations are exceptional not only because they capture the moment of rest, but often also because they show how the dinosaur was laid, where its body weight was, and how long it could lie there. In some cases, it was even possible to identify whether it was the sleep of an individual or several individuals in one area. Although most dinosaurs were terrestrial, some groups inhabiting coastal areas or aquatic environments, such as hadrosaurs living near rivers and lakes, may have developed specific ways of sleeping adapted to living near water. These dinosaurs probably slept on land, but in close proximity to it, so that they could have access to water and at the same time be protected from aquatic predators. Sleeping in such an environment required high caution, as muddy terrain could pose a risk of getting stuck or poor visibility. On the other hand, there are marine reptiles that are not technically dinosaurs, but are often associated with them. For example, ichthyosaurs or plesiosaurs. These creatures probably slept similarly to today's whales, that is, half consciously, with one part of the brain remaining active. Although they are not real dinosaurs, their kinship and similar lifestyle challenges suggest that the aquatic environment also required a unique sleep solution. The question of whether dinosaurs were warm-blooded or cold-blooded also affects the idea of their sleep. Warm-blooded creatures such as mammals and birds tend to have more structured and deeper sleep, while cold-blooded reptiles sleep in a less organized manner and often only in response to ambient temperature. In recent years, it has become increasingly clear that many dinosaurs were probably intermediate, so-called mesothermic creatures, which means that they could partially regulate their body temperature, but not as effectively as mammals. This fact could explain why some species slept in deep burrows, close to each other, or in a ball, not only because of predators, but also because of thermal comfort. Thus, the way dinosaurs slept could not only be biologically determined, but also adapted to the physiology of their metabolism and body thermal regulation. And this is one of the main reasons why their sleep was so diverse. Sleep is a key component of the life of every organism and may have played a significant role in dinosaurs' evolutionary success. Species that were able to rest effectively, regenerate quickly, and protect themselves from threats at the same time had a better chance of survival. The evolution of sleep patterns may have gone hand in hand with the evolution of intelligence, parental care, communication, or social structure. For some species, sleep could become a collective ritual, a period of group bonding, social bonding, and internal stability being built. Evolution favored individuals who could rest with the least risk possible, and this may have led to the emergence of sophisticated strategies that were later adopted by their descendants in the form of today's birds. As with today's animals, dinosaurs' sleeping habits may have changed during an individual's lifetime. The young probably slept more often, longer, and deeper than the adults because their bodies were developing and needed more energy to grow. Adolescents were then able to sleep for shorter periods of time and more interrupted as they developed survival habits and became more alert. Older dinosaurs, on the other hand, may have been more cautious, may have slept lighter, and changed positions more often to reduce the risk of joint attack or stiffness. The development of sleep behavior from birth to old age could have been crucial for understanding not only physiological development, but also the social functioning of entire groups of dinosaurs. Although we'll never know for sure if dinosaurs dreamed, research on birds and reptiles, their closest relatives, suggests it's real. Modern birds have been shown to experience REM sleep phases, during which rapid eye movements and increased brain activity occur. This state is often associated with dreaming. If some species of dinosaurs had brains similar to those of birds, it is possible that they could also have experienced simple dreams. Dreaming may have had an evolutionary advantage for dinosaurs. During this stage, the brain learns, stores new information, and strengthens memory. In social species, dreams could be related to group interactions, raising young, or orientation in the field. Although these are still speculations, they open up the fascinating possibility that quiet inner stories took place in the heads of these prehistoric giants during the night. The interpretation of dinosaur sleep behavior is still a subject of debate among paleontologists. Some of the fossils that were originally labeled dormant may have actually been the remnants of the moment of death, a dramatic event when the creature was buried under volcanic ash or other sediment. Distinguishing whether it was sleep or sudden death is extremely difficult and requires careful analysis of the context of the finding. Paleontologists also disagree on how far behavior can be deduced from fossils. Some argue that sleep habits are too complex and environmentally influenced to be reconstructed from bones. But others argue that when combined with modern knowledge about birds, genetics, and sedimentology, a surprisingly accurate picture of how dinosaurs might have slept, and that this area of research is only just opening up. Long-term lack of sleep leads to a decrease in immunity, loss of coordination, and even death in today's animals. In dinosaurs, quality sleep may have been the key to survival, not only in terms of muscle or nervous system regeneration, but also for mental stability and reaction skills. Predators that were sleep-deprived may have been less accurate and efficient in hunting, while herbivores that were tired and slow to escape. Some species may have had a specific sleep window where the body intensively restores important processes, such as growth in young animals or the production of immune cells. Due to the size and energy requirements, it was essential for large dinosaurs that their bodies were given sufficient space to rest. Otherwise, they would risk collapsing even with a small load. In modern art and popular culture, the dinosaur is often depicted in action, running, fighting, roaring. However, he is rarely depicted resting. The sleeping dinosaur opens up a completely different view of these creatures, fragile, vulnerable, and almost poetic. The artist who dared to portray these giants calmly offered the viewer an unexpected perspective that even the strongest and largest need a moment of peace and security. Such a view humanizes otherwise terrifying creatures and shows their similarity to today's animals. From the point of view of a child audience, sleeping dinosaurs are often the first encounter with the idea that these creatures were not just monsters, but sentient beings. Culturally, sleep has enormous potential in the interpretation of dinosaurs, not only scientific but also emotional and aesthetic. In an environment where there were several different species of dinosaurs, sleep could also have an ecological function. If some dinosaurs were active at night and others during the day, this naturally reduced competition for food and space. This phenomenon, known as time nichation, helped balance the entire ecosystem. The mutual alternation of the rhythms of wakefulness and sleep could have had a direct effect on the survival of individual species in a given area. Indeed, studies of the orbits and cranial cavities of some dinosaurs confirmed that their eyesight differed depending on whether they were active during the day or at night. This means that sleep was not only a biological necessity, but also a tool for ecological specialization. So the world of dinosaurs never slept completely. When herbivores rested, predators were awake, and when hunters fell asleep, the herd came to life. Although we know more about dinosaur sleep today than ever before, we are still only at the beginning. New technologies such as computed tomography of fossils, 3D scanning, and advanced genetics promise to reveal more details about how dinosaurs rested, how much sleep they needed, and how their brains worked. Every new find, every fragment of bone or footprint can be the key to the next piece of this fascinating puzzle. In the future, paleontology is expected to join forces with neuroscience, behavioral biology, and robotics to simulate dinosaur sleep In digital space, virtual reconstructions of sleeping dinosaurs will help us not only to better understand the past, but also to develop a modern theory of sleep itself. The answer to how dinosaurs slept thus becomes not only a question of history, but also of the future. Dinosaurs slept differently, in a ball, standing, and in groups. For them, sleep was the key to survival and protection. It shows us that even these giants had their calm, vulnerable moments. If you liked the video, subscribe and look forward to more expeditions to prehistory. Thank you for watching.